What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. And look, we've all heard about the benefits of taking a break from running. And everything you've heard certainly makes sense, although it does get a little bit more difficult when we're talking about ourselves. But for everyone else, taking a break from running has some pretty clear benefits. Like it can prevent burnout, it can help you break through a plateau, it can prevent injuries, and it's a good kind of mental reset after a race or something you've been training for a long time. And actually taking a break can actually help you increase muscle mass if that might be one of your goals. So while I know all this stuff to be true, I still find it very difficult to take a break from running. Now, many of you know that over the last couple of months, I think it's been, that I've actually been struggling with plantar fasciitis. And I thought to myself, you know what, as soon as it gets bad enough, I think I'm going to try and take a break. Nothing too serious, maybe a week, maybe two, maybe that'll fix it. But I kept putting it up, and then it starts getting closer to the fall and the temperatures are going to start dropping, and I start thinking, nah, I don't really want to take a break now. I've run through the entire summer being uncomfortable in the heat, don't really want to take any time off. But then I was texting with a running friend of mine, and he has also been struggling with plantar fasciitis, and he has taken 3 weeks off. And after that 3 weeks, he says that he can still feel it, but he also said the first week made the biggest impact. And of course, because I have plantar fasciitis, that makes me an injured runner. And because I'm an injured runner, I have access to all the irrational thinking and tendencies that are awarded to injured runners. So after hearing that he took 3 weeks off and it still hurt a little bit, but the most benefits came within the first week, I thought to myself, I can take a week off. I'm gonna get that immediate bump of healing, and then I'm gonna get back into it and move forward. So I decided to take a couple of days off running. I thought, a couple of days off running's not gonna hurt me. In fact, I've been feeling like I'm getting really tired, like overly fatigued type tired. So actually taking a couple of days off actually made me feel pretty good. And when I say it made me feel pretty good, I mean it made me feel pretty good in the short term. Like I got to sleep in for an extra hour. I was getting more sleep than I usually get on a regular basis, and actually that's probably it. I just was getting a little more sleep. But then a funny thing happened on my day off. It was about 10:30 in the morning, and I hadn't run, and I was just lounging around, and my wife asked me, Matt, what's wrong? And I said, oh, I'm depressed because I can't run. Now, look, honestly, I don't think that I was depressed. I was probably just looking to get some sympathy from my wife. But right after that, I got up, now remember, 10:30 in the morning, and I went back to bed. I went to lie down for just a minute. I'm thinking, I'm pretty tired. And look, I slept for 2 hours. And I don't know how many of you take naps during the day, but that doesn't seem normal to me. So I woke up, I felt pretty good. I thought to myself, that's pretty funny. I wonder if that has anything to do with not running. And you know what the funny thing is, there have been lots of studies on this. There's a study titled Committed Exercises and Exercise Deprivation, and it was found that by taking athletes that exercise on a regular basis and then stopping them from exercising for just 2 weeks, it found that their mood states were significantly altered. And also after the layoff, it was found that the athletes had significant increases in feelings of anger, tension, depression, confusion, and total mood disturbance. Oh, and there was also a decrease in vigor. Maybe this is surprising to you, maybe it's not. But I guess what it comes down to is that, generally speaking, we're creatures of habit. I think maybe I like to say that I'm not a creature of habit, that I like to go out and do spontaneous things all the time. But let me tell you, it's not true. I like my routine. I like doing what I do. But it seems to me that when we take people out of their comfort zone, we take people away from their routine, it shouldn't be surprising that we do see some changes. And we know that running creates feelings of well-being, it's a stress reliever. In fact, if you put that question out there to a lot of people, they say they run for stress relief. And even though if you ask me, I wouldn't tell you that running is a stress reliever for me, I think really it is. My run every morning kind of anchors my day, and I can go forward in my day knowing that I've done something better for myself because I've been out for that run. And it also provides content for me to put out on YouTube, put out on Instagram, but that's another compulsion that we probably won't get into on this channel. Anyway, that daily activity of going for a run gives me lots of benefits and lots of good feelings that I might not always be consciously aware of, but they're definitely there. So when it gets taken away, it's almost like a withdrawal effect. And I think this withdrawal effect is even more pronounced when you are forced to take a break from running. So we're looking at, well, injury. What other reason would you be forced to take a break from running? Maybe a work-related thing, maybe a family-related thing. But it occurs to me that if you stop running because of something else that is going to keep you really busy, like work, like family, then you may not have those same withdrawal effects that you do if you have an injury and the rest of your life stays the same, but you just can't go for a run. So today I'm going to give you 3 ways to stay sane when injury makes you put that running on hold. And I did get these ideas from an article I found in sportshealth.com, and I will link to that in the show notes below if you want to go and read it. So if you find yourself injured from running, the first thing that I want you to do is to have a secondary physical activity. Now I want to know, do you guys actually have a secondary physical activity? Do you cross train? Is there something that you can go to immediately if you find yourself with a running injury? Let me know in the comments below. Now, for those of you that follow me on Strava, you know that on my work days, you'll see me do a lunchtime elliptical workout. So I do the elliptical on my work days, and I do have a Peloton spin bike just sat on the other side of this camera, and I also do that most days. I usually do that before I go out for a run. So actually, I've got all the tools in place as far as this first tip goes to reduce any feelings of loss or anxiety or stress that comes with not running. Now, let me be clear. I know that riding an elliptical and riding a bike are not running, but running is the thing that got us injured, and that's why we're taking the break. So it's probably a good thing that we're not doing that. But either way, doing something else is going to help mitigate any loss of fitness that you may get from not running, if that is a concern for you. Now, I've got to say that for me, I've been running for such a long time now, a loss of fitness isn't really the most important thing that I'm worried about. And don't get me wrong, it does cross my mind. I do think about it. I don't want to lose fitness, but I also know that fitness comes back pretty quickly. And over the years, I have shown myself time and time again that I can come back from a running injury. So with that, remember, the number one thing to stay sane when you have a running injury is to actually have a secondary activity. And guys, it can be anything. In fact, I just saw that the astronauts going up to fly around the moon in a couple of years, they're gonna have a row machine that kind of slots into the wall. So when they're up there, they can just get on the row machine and row away and have a good old time. Of course, it's not running, but it's something. The second way to stay sane when an injury puts a stop to your running is to stay connected. And of course, nowadays with social media, with YouTube, with Instagram, with Strava, it is very easy to stay connected. But it's also very easy to drift away from your running crew. It's like now that glue of running that holds you together has been broken. You just kind of drift away into your own corners. But my friends, just because you are not running doesn't mean you are not a runner. So I want you to remember that and still engage with the running community while you're injured. And my friends, remember, as a runner, it is highly likely that you are going to get injured at some point. It may be very minor. Unfortunately, it may also be very serious. You may have to take a week off. You may have to take 6 months off. And of course, there are going to be different challenges that come with each type of running injury. But whatever happens, stay connected to the community. It'll help you through it. A lot of us have been there before. And with that, I think the third way to stay sane when a running injury takes you away from your running, and guys, this is the most important one, is to challenge catastrophic thinking. Because I think this is a pretty normal thing. It doesn't mean it's a good thing, but I think it's pretty normal for us to catastrophize things that don't actually go our way. It's a lot easier said than done. When running is something that we do, and all of a sudden we can't do it because of something that is arguably out of our control, such as getting injured. Now look, I know that a running injury is very much within our control to a certain extent, but once we are injured, the consequences of that injury are out of our control. But what we can control is our thinking. So it's very important that we don't let our thoughts get dark and catastrophic. So there's a psychologist, Albert Ellis, and he's a pioneer in rational emotive behavioral therapy. And he would say that when a runner gets injured, they activate their ABC. The A is for the activating event. And the activating event is the external fact that we are injured, okay? That activating event is something that can't be changed. Now look, the activating event, that injury, is not actually the cause of the suffering, okay? Whatever we're dealing with inside, for me, it's my plantar fasciitis. In the past, it's been stress fractures. In the past, it's been muscle strains. Whatever that isn't what's causing my suffering. What's causing the suffering is the B in the ABC method, and the B stands for belief. And the belief is what follows the activating event. So what I choose to believe about my injury is actually what causes the suffering. So some of us might believe, oh, I'm never gonna get back to running. I'm gonna lose all my fitness. My whole identity is tied into running. What am I gonna do now? All my friends are still running and I'm not running. I've been training for a race and now I can't do it because I'm injured. All these things are going to pile up in your mind and they are gonna cause suffering. And remember, Buddha said that expectations are the root of all suffering. And again, that's easier said than done. If we are training for a race, it's very difficult not to expect to do it. After all, we are training for it. But with that aside, we're going to move on to C, and C stands for consequence, and the consequence is the consequences of our beliefs. So psychologist Albert Ellis would say that once you change your beliefs, the consequences also change. So in this case, we want to change our negative beliefs about what's going to happen from being injured. And in that case, the consequences of our beliefs make us suffer less. Guys, there's no getting around being injured. We can't change that, but we can change how we approach it. And the fact is that if you are injured, you are going to get over that injury. You are going to come back. You are probably going to come back stronger than ever, at least after a little time and a little more training, because you've had such a refreshing break. And yes, it is disappointing. And if you've been training for a race and you don't get to do it, it's wildly disappointing. I totally get that. But my friends, there will be other races, and your running friends are still going to be there, ready to welcome you back. And after all, no one knows about the disappointments of a running injury than another runner. That's why you lean on them throughout the process. If you've been injured, and in all likelihood, unfortunately, you probably have, I want to hear from you and how you have dealt with a running injury in the past. Have you employed the 3 things that we've already talked about, like finding different activities to do, staying connected with your running friends, and challenging those negative thoughts that come? Let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Okay, let's talk about my week of training. And my week actually went pretty good, but honestly, there isn't much to talk about, as is to be expected after a video like you just watched. But let's start off on Monday. And on Monday, I took the day off. And that same workout was repeated on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. On Saturday, my foot was feeling just a little bit better, and I decided to go out for a very short, very easy run. I went out for 3.2 miles, just sort of running around the block. And when I came back, everything was actually still feeling pretty good. So I was excited because I knew that my local running group was meeting on Sunday and I thought I might go and run with them. So on Sunday I got up early, went down to the waterfront in Sarasota, and I ran with a group for 9.1 miles, which was actually a pretty good run. However, by the end of that run, I was feeling my plantar fasciitis. So in hindsight, that was probably a little too much, although it's feeling okay now, but I think somewhere my sweet spot for coming back is between a 5K and perhaps a 10K. So we'll see moving forward. This was a nice experiment, but I am going to continue with the time off for the time being. And if I do go out, it's going to be for very short runs. So this week, my week's total was 12.3 miles, which is about 19.8 kilometers. So all in all, pretty good week. Guys, don't forget to let me know about your week of running. Remember, successes and setbacks. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.